Hey everybody, happy Monday.
Happy Monday, everyone. We are coming to you from the YouTube studio instead of the fish room. We have a really cool video in store for you today. And what is that video?
Best Betta Buddies.
It is. It's the best Betta buddies, but we are approaching this from the experience that we've had. So it's not going to be an exhaustive list of fish we think are going to do well. This is a list of fish that we know have done well when we've kept them with bettas. We have done dozens of betta tanks, and these are some of the fish that we know and invertebrates that have worked out well. In a future video, we're going to be doing the fish that didn't work out so well, so those would be the bad betta buddies. But what we're going to do, we're going to start this based on tank size, and we're going to go all the way down to the 2.5 gallon. I know we're really pushing the lower limits in a 2.5 gallon. We really don't keep bettas in those size tanks anymore, but I know some people do. So what do you got for a betta in a 2.5 gallon? We get this question a lot. 2.5 to 5 gallon.
We've got one option for you.
No,
well, actually two.
Yeah, we have two.
We actually have two. We expanded it. We wanted to give you an option. So if you've got a 2.5 gallon and you've got your betta buddy, that is your buddy, the buddy for your betta could be a mystery snail or a nearite snail.
We have done that combination a number of times. We've never had an issue. Now, I know that people have reported, oh yeah, I tried to keep a mystery snail and a betta together and it didn't work. The betta was picking at it. When we've had success, the reason why is we added the snail and the betta in the tank at the same time, or even had the mystery snail in the tank before the betta, and that has also worked. But really, when you're talking about a tank that's anywhere from, let's say, 2.5 to 5 gallons, you're really limited on the types of organisms you can keep with your betta, and we just recommend a snail to be on the safe side. As you start to get into larger tanks, like let's say you're keeping a betta in a 10 gallon, now we start to have some more options, because not only can you keep the snails in with your betta, but what else we got?
Oh, there's a variety of tetras that you can keep.
And the tetras that we are talking about here are going to be on the smaller side, but there's the trick here. And the trick is they have to have basically three characteristics. One, they can't be so small that the betta might eat them later. We don't want them to be too large because we're talking about a 10-gallon tank, and we don't want them to be fin nippy.
Right.
And so based on all of those criteria, we've come up with a list, and I think one of them is the neon. And that's actually more than one option because you have many different types.
Oh yeah, you can get the green neons, the black neons, the cardinals,
the standards. And
so
we also have, in addition to those, we have kept all of those fish with the betta, and again, we've had no issues, with the exception of the cardinals. We don't keep cardinals, but they're basically the same thing as a neon, just a little bit more red. Water parameters are slightly different, but in terms of size and temperament, they work out relatively well. We've also done the gold tetras, and those are really cool fish.
They're beautiful.
So we've actually kept gold tetras with a couple different bettas without really any issues. So the gold tetras are really nice. What else?
Lamp eyes.
Oh, sorry. All right, so we're in the Rasbora realm.
Well, I did jump over there, yeah.
You did. So the lamp eye Rasbora, that's a pretty cool fish. They don't get too large. They are really good in a group.
For tetras, glow light tetras.
We are currently doing a group of glow light tetras. They get about the size of a neon. Ember Tetras as well. Now they stay a little bit smaller. And so the idea here with all of the tetras is probably the way it's going to work out best. You've got your betta, and again, if we're in at least a 10 gallon, we're talking about a 10 gallon-ish right now, you can do 6 to 10 of these tetras in a 10 gallon. It's not going to look too crowded. What else in a 10 gallon? Have we done anything else?
Pork chop rasboras?
Pork chop rasboras, thank you. Yes, the pork chop rasbora, that's another one. They like to school together, and they're not overly aggressive or anything like that. Really pretty looking fish.
Yeah.
So those are some of the options there. Also, when we're looking at the cleanup crew, we already mentioned the nearite snail and the mystery snail. By the time you get to a 10 gallon, you could consider maybe a half a dozen pygmy cory cats. Now, I'm not necessarily saying load your tank up with a betta and a dozen neons and a half a dozen pygmy cories. That could get really crowded in a hurry. But maybe in place of the tetras, like, I don't want to do tetras, I want something different. The pygmy cory cats could be a pretty cool option, doing 6 to 8 of those. Now, when it gets fun is as we start to move into the slightly larger tanks. And we're going to probably cut it off right about a 20-gallon tank, because that's pretty much, for most people who keep bettas, they're usually doing 20 gallons or less.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything we've mentioned so far, you can put in a larger tank. You can just put a whole lot more, or you can start combining them. So 20 gallons, what are we opening ourselves up to here with the options?
Well, instead of the pygmy Corys, you could do Cory cats.
Absolutely. Well, it's a 20 long,
Yeah.
a 20 standard. We just did a species profile on the Panda Cory cat. Great fish. And in a 20 gallon, I think you're looking at least a half a dozen that could comfortably fit in a 20 gallon, maybe more. And the nice thing is with the 20 gallon, now you're starting to do the combos. Now you've got the Betta, you've got the Cory cats, maybe a couple Mystery Snails. Maybe now you've got that schooling group of some type of Tetra, 6 to 10 of those. So that would be pretty cool. What else?
How about bristlenose plecos? In a size 20, you can totally do that.
A bristlenose pleco, yeah. And the cool thing about the bristlenose plecos is there's a lot of variety. You've got the super reds, you've got the green dragons,
Oh, yeah.
the albinos, the standards. You might want to consider not doing a long fin bristlenose pleco with a Betta, because you just never know if the Betta is going to get a little nippy. So I would probably opt for the standard fins. And again, these are fish that we know we've had success with. I am sure some of you out there are like, yeah, I tried that combination. It didn't work. By the way, in the comments section below, would love to hear from you. What kinds of combinations have you kept with Bettas that have worked out well? Did any of these fish that we've mentioned not work out well for you? Because just because it worked out well for us, maybe it didn't for you. Anything else we've got in the 20s?
Well, clown pleco.
The clown pleco, yeah. In
I
fact,
love those.
yeah, you could potentially keep a clown pleco even in a 10 gallon because they don't get as big as the bristlenose, where the male bristlenose will get every bit a 6-inch fish. The clown plecos usually top out around 3.5 or 4 inches, and they look pretty cool. They hide a lot. That's the downside.
Yes.
But they are a cool fish. And right now we've got those. We've got clown plecos and bristlenose in with a Betta.
Yes, we
right
do.
now in the 15-gallon column tank. So we have that. Anything else we have for the 20?
Well, I know a lot of people love Odos.
Otocinchus. That's another one, actually.
They're
yeah,
so cute.
I would probably 10 to 20 gallons. The thing about Otocinchus is you do want to keep them in a big group. And so you're looking at 10 to 12, maybe Otocinchus. They tend to thrive in that larger group. And you have to make sure that you feed them when you've got that many, because chances are there's not going to be enough algae in the tank for all of those Otos. And that's the same thing with pretty much the bristlenose plecos and the clown plecos as well.
Coolie loaches.
You know,
Everybody loves coolie loaches.
coolie loaches in a 20 gallon, that's a pretty cool fish because they tend to, sometimes they hide out and they're pretty quick. So that can be a lot of fun. One thing to keep in mind, and even with some of the stuff that we're suggesting, at times what we have found that if we don't feed our fish properly, not properly, if we skip a feeding or if you're not feeding them like we do, and we generally feed our fish twice a day, fish that are well fed tend not to be nearly as aggressive. And so that is one of the reasons why I think we've had success with all the fish that we've mentioned so far, is we're feeding them twice a day. And so they tend not to be nippy towards a Betta. The Betta leaves the other fish alone. I will also say that I think a lot of these combinations would work better. A Betta better combination.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a tough one. If your Betta is a short fin Betta,
Yes.
I think you're going to have more success. And that's especially true with a couple of the live bears, right? In a 20 gallon. So what do we got for the live bears?
Well, before we go on to those, peacock gudgeons.
Oh, I forgot about those peacock gudgeons.
Could you imagine a Betta with peacock gudgeons?
Yeah, this is one where I've kept this combination before. In fact, I had a Betta in a 20 long with a decent group of peacock gudgeons that we were just growing up from fry. I mean, they weren't fry anymore. They were pretty much adults. But peacock gudgeons are really cool. By the way, we've got a ton of species profiles on the fish that we're mentioning. I will put those in the description below if you want more information about some of these potential tank mates. But yeah, peacock gudgeons have amazing color. They don't get very large. Usually they tend to kind of hang to themselves. Again, I would kind of lean towards maybe a shorter fin Betta with the peacock gudgeons, but they are amazing fish. Now, we did put a couple live bears on here, but really for the 20, right? Because I know, so for instance, we tried Endlers and Bettas one time. The Endlers were really, really active. They're one of the more active live bears, and we decided, that wasn't the best combination. It was in a smaller tank too. So that was not the best. But we did put in, what was it, guppies?
Guppies? And then you want the other one right away?
Sure.
Platies?
Yep, in a 20 gallon?
Maybe?
I think so.
Yeah.
Right now, we've got some guppies in with a Betta, and we've done them in the past, and I know we've gone to some fish rooms where it's worked out fairly well. Again, what I'll say here is as long as the fish are well fed, I will also say don't expect a lot of fry. So if you are keeping this combination together and you're hoping to breed the platies or breed the guppies or any of the other fish that we've mentioned so far, it's probably not going to happen. The Betta is going to make little tiny fish foods out of the babies. So, and sometimes the males can be a little bit of aggressive, but again, I find if you feed them well, those combinations can and often do work. All right, everyone, so those are some of the combinations that have worked for us. Again, would love to hear from you in the comments section below. What has worked for you? What hasn't worked for you? If you need more information on some of the fish we mentioned, trust me, there's a ton of cool species profiles down in the description below. Appreciate you being here, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.